Right, good morning everybody. My name is Paul Seedhouse and I'm Professor of Applied Linguistics at Newcastle University and I'm Director of iLab Learn. iLab Learn is today and it's a collaboration with the Department of Computing and we've been working for the last 11 years here in what we call the Digital Kitchen, and we've been looking at how you can learn languages at the same time as you're cooking. So particular welcome today to our new students at Newcastle University and also in Barcelona. Bienvenido a los estudiantes de la Universidad de Barcelona. Buen día. Okay, so what we're going to do for you today is show you how virtual language exchange works. So virtual exchange then is the idea that you can learn a language and learn about a different culture online with somebody in another country while you're doing the same task or similar tasks. So first of all, I want to introduce the people you're going to meet today. So over here, got Dr. Alison Whelan, who's going to be cooking a Catalan dish here in Newcastle. Over here, Dr. Jaume Batlle from the University of Barcelona, and he's going to be cooking a Vietnamese dish. So, first of all then, I'm going to show you some PowerPoints and work out, I'm going to tell you first of all about the Lingua Cuisine app, and then we're going to look at how virtual exchange works. So, the Lingua Cuisine app. So what is the Lingua Cuisine app? Well, it's a free app and it helps you learn foreign languages while you're cooking. And it's got two main parts to it, the player part, which is what we do today. We've also got the author part, and that means that anybody anywhere in the world can add their own recipe in their own language, and anybody else in the world can see it. And the way the app works then is your phone will speak to you in the foreign language. You'll get audio, photos, video, and text, and they all help you to understand the task of cooking and language learning. Okay, so why learn languages when cooking? Well, we asked ourselves, what is it that young people today like doing? And we know they like eating foreign food, they like foreign travel, they love using their mobile phone, and they like having fun. So we put this into the design for the app. So one advantage we found when we were using the app is that you learn using all of your senses, and this helps you to learn vocabulary and retain it. You're linking the learning to more of your senses. So you can learn through taste and also smell and also touch. So usually then we get people to work in pairs on the cooking task and trying to get them to speak the foreign language at the same time. So the app shows you photos of the food and ingredients and tells you their names. And then it speaks to you in the foreign language and shows you how to cook the recipe. If you can't understand, You get help with the video, photo and text explanations. And so, using the app then is a very integrated type of learning. You're learning a foreign language, you're learning foreign cuisine, you're improving your digital skills, getting ready for a foreign trip, you're learning something about food history, and you learn something about foreign culture. And also you can make your own recipes and put them on the system for other people to use. So we've been working on this for 10 years. We've had 3 generations of the technology, and Lingua Cuisine is the 3rd generation. It's been used by over 9,000 people around the world in 83 countries so far, and people have added 24 languages, cultures or cuisines to it. And so we estimate that about 55,000 words have been learned. It's used by language teachers all around the world. And each year we have a prize, which is for the best foreign language recipe to be added in any language. And the 2020 winner was German. Pflaumenkuchen, very tasty. And so we've researched learning gains in a number of studies. We've shown significant gains in vocabulary learning of English, Chinese, Korean and Vietnamese so far. And we've measured improvements in terms of speaking, listening, digital skills, cooking skills, and also cross-cultural learning. We've got a number of publications on the 3 generations of the digital kitchen, which you can find on the website. And also we've got a book, which is on the 1st and 2nd generations. So there have been a number of studies of the impact of the app. Erasmus has published an impact study about its effect. EPSRC studied an impact case study on the French digital kitchen. That's the 1st generation. And the 3rd generation, 100 have just selected Lingua Cuisine for their spotlight on bilingual education, which will be taking place in November next month, online from Helsinki. Okay, and we've been using the app a lot during lockdown. It proved very useful for that. So Newcastle City Council asked us to make 2 bilingual recipes for children who were locked down and in low-income households. So we did one for French and one for Spanish. And 100 published an article on how we were using it during lockdown. And I did some live online events at home in my kitchen. I made tiramisu, lovely Italian dish. Okay, so what are we doing today then? We're doing virtual exchange, which means you're doing a learning task in 2 different countries at the same time, involving learning a different language and a different culture, but you're doing the same or similar task. Okay, that's why it's called a virtual exchange. So what happens here in Newcastle? We've got a Vietnamese recipe that's created by Trang, Cà phê Trung, Vietnamese egg coffee. And here in Newcastle, Alison is going to be cooking a Catalan recipe, and she's going to learn Catalan words. And Jaume in Barcelona is going to assess Alison, and she can ask questions to Jaume to help her. what's going to happen in Barcelona then? So Jaume created this Catalan recipe, suquet de peix amb pèsols, which means fish with peas. And so in Barcelona, Jaume is going to cook the Vietnamese recipe and learn Vietnamese words, and Tran is going to assess. And so Jaume can ask Tran the questions. So virtual exchange then online in 2 different countries, but doing similar related tasks. Now, the important principles we've got from language teaching, from communicative language teaching, are information gap and information transfer. In an information gap, then, one group is lacking the information necessary to complete the task, another group has the information. So in this case, it's the recipe. So here we've got the Catalan recipe, but we probably don't know everything about it, so we'll need to ask questions to Jaume, and the same Jaume's wanting to do the Vietnamese recipe, but he's going to need a bit of information from Tran. And we've also got the principle of information transfer. That's exchange of information, so both groups can complete their task. So we're using both of these principles as part of the virtual exchange. Why? Well, these principles provide a fairly authentic reason for the groups to interact with each other, to help each other with the task. And the information to complete the task then, it can come from the app, but it can also come from the other person, the person who wrote the recipe. And then we're going to evaluate the information transfer. How many new words were learnt? We need to check that with the expert who wrote the recipe. Evaluation also means evaluating the product. So each group's going to eat the food produced and exchange feedback on the recipe and learning experience. So each group will assess what they've learned on a cross-cultural level. And we're going to evaluate how have these principles, information gap and information transfer, how have they influenced the interaction, and then we're going to evaluate the experience of virtual exchange. And of course, anybody anywhere in the world can have their own recipe. So towards the end, we're going to look at how you can add your own recipe and what's involved. Okay, great. So now I'm going to hand over to Alison and Jaume, and they're going to start the app and look at the utensils. But first of all, I'm just going to show you how the app works. We're going to look at this screen now. And the thing is then that you can, if you're with us, you can log into the app and you can take part in the cooking if you like. So on the screen here, we just go down to try it online now. And then we've got this simple interface. So you choose a recipe language. We're going to do Catalan and Vietnamese in a minute, but I'll just show you an example. We'll try French. Why not? I like French food. And we see we've got a few recipes there. Tapenade, that's one of my favourites. It's cold, it doesn't involve any cooking. Click on that. All right, and first of all, you click on the ingredients and utensils. And it shows you a list of everything you need to get together to cook the meal. So let's try this one, for example. It means clove with garlic, and we'll get the pronunciation.
Gousse d'ail.
Okay, so when you've got all your ingredients and utensils, then you're going to watch the video. You can see there you've got 12 stages to the video, and it's a good idea to click on this so you get the written text at the same time as you watch the video. So let's have a look.
Peler une gousse d'ail à l'aide d'un couteau.
You can get full screen if you want. Okay, so it's a nice simple idea then. You just get your ingredients and utensils together, and then you follow the video all the way through. And as I said, normally we cook in twos so people can speak to each other. In this case, we are actually cooking in twos, except we're in different countries. That's the difference. That's why it's virtual exchange. So we'll go back to the menu there. Okay, try it online now. And then depending on what you want to do, you can choose Catalan or Vietnamese if you want to take part in the cooking. Okay, so now I'm going to hand over to Alison and Jaume, and they're going to load their recipes and then get their ingredients and utensils.
Okay, so here we have our suquet de país, pesos, and we're going to see what we need. Jaume, correct me if I have all of these things. Our first ingredient.
Use.
Use. Use. Now this is cake in English. Quite difficult to source actually. So we have use. Next.
Pesos.
Pesos. Please. Pesos.
Patatas.
Patatas. I think we need to turn up your volume.
Tomatoes.
Tomatoes. Tomatoes.
Ají.
Ají. Garlic. Ají.
Sal.
Sal.
Agua.
Agua.
Ameļas torradas.
Ameļas torradas. These are toasted flaked almonds. Ameļas torradas. I find that one quite tricky.
Julivert.
Sorry? I have toasted the, yes, I have toasted fine. I think we need to turn up your volume.
Turn up the volume.
Yes. So we can hear you. Yes, I've toasted the almonds already. I've been very prepared.
Julivert.
Julivert, one of my favorites. Julivert.
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 Pedra negra.
Hebra negra. Two more things.
Ceba.
Ceba
Ceba.
and
Oli.
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 Oli. And then my utensils, I have ready
Paella.
paella. I've got a very large one this time, paella.
Three.
Yes, my last pan was too small.
Ganivet.
Ganivet, a knife.
But we'll cook for 4 people.
Yes. Oh yes, we have enough for 4 people. Yes, we have enough for 4 people.
Fusta.
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 Not a wooden one, I'm afraid.
Necessary. Morter.
Mortar. Mortar.
If one is for this
To make the paste.
Olla.
Olla. Pan.
No.
For my pizzles. And finally,
Cullera de fusta.
cullera de fusta.
Cullera de fusta. Molt bé.
spoon. I think I'm all ready. Are you going to go through your ingredients and your utensils?
Okay, that's my turn. Let me check. Sorry, because let me check if you can hear it well. Now, can why? Sorry. Okay. Can you hear?
We can hear it.
Okay. Look. That is water. Okay. And here I don't have any kettle because in Spain it's not common, so I will boil the water on this pan. So soda, that is sweet milk. Kylie, that means Kylie. Now I know the word. Kylie.
Teaspoon.
Okay. And recipes on my home. Sugar. Okay. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. If I'm pronouncing well, macaron, that means honey, I think. My tanchung, that is here.
Wow.
Yes, a new one. And also, malt cafe. Well, if it's coffee, we need coffee, yeah. Okay. I think, well, no. We need cafe. That is this kind of filter. And the last one, thick cafe. That is this filter. Okay, I think everything is ready here in Barcelona to cook the Vietnamese Thai cafe. I don't know if I'm pronouncing well. Okay, I think that because of your recipe is longer to prepare, I think you could start earlier.
Okay, I'll go first. So, I've got my recipe ready here on the app. I've got the first stage here, so let's see what Gemma tells me to do.
En primer lloc, hem de bullir els pèsols. Llavors, a una olla mitjana posem els pèsols.
Okay, so he's just telling me that I've got to put the peas into some water and put it on to boil. So I put my peas, pèsols,
Correcte, pèsols.
olla with my aigua.
Molt bé.
And that is boiling up nicely. Okay, that's our first step. Some salt.
Una mica de sal.
Sal, like that. And I'll move straight on to my next step. That was a good, easy one to start with. And if I get stuck, I can show the description of what Gemma is telling me, so I can replay it, or I can have a look at the description as well and see what it says.
Agafem els tomàquets i els tallem a trossos petits.
Trossos petits, I assume means small pieces.
Yeah, trossos petits.
Trossos petits, with my ganivets.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly, petit is, what does it mean petit? How is that in English?
Small.
Okay,
Petite,
petite.
petite, small.
Very good.
Yeah, and of course that's the same as in French as well, which is interesting.
Exactly.
Making
Yeah,
links.
good work.
Making links across all the languages that I know, so that's a good one to do.
That's a very good way to learn words, you know.
It certainly is. Well, I've cheated and I've got more of my tomatoes here, so I'll add those to there.
Okay.
That's my tomatoes. I'll check my next step, and then we can go over and you can start once I've got something in, so I can find the cursor has gone missing again. On the wrong screen. Digital Kitchen is very clever, but when it goes onto the wrong screen, it gets stuck. What was the right screen for me? I want to move on to the next one, please. There it is. Thank you. Disappeared. It's back. Okay, let's move on to our next step. 3 steps of 9, so I don't know how long my recipe is, and I know how long it's going to take me. Okay. So I'm now going to cut my onion in small pieces as well.
Yes.
Say that. Now, Gemma, I've cheated. And I've already done it.
That's fine. That's fine,
So
yes.
I have my onion already prepared. But it is in small pieces. So
Yes, exactly.
so I cheated on that step to make things go a little bit quicker. But I will do my see that. So agafem is cooked. Chopped.
Agafem is, for example, now, agafo la cullera. Yeah, I think in Vietnamese. Agafar is like agafar. How is it?
Take.
Exactly.
Okay,
Agafar.
right. I see.
Great.
Right. So I'm hoping this is all going to go into my paella at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if we can clear this next step, or if it's just going to go spinning. So far I've done my tomatoes, I've done my ceba. Next is going to be patatas, isn't it? Okay. Oli.
Paella, perfecto.
And a paella. Let's turn it on heat. Okay, about medium heat, I think you were saying there. So I'll have to check this way. So I'm put it on that. Now I put in my onion.
Exactly. Perfecto. Perfecta.
See that? Tomatoes.
Perfecta. La cebolla y tumaca. Todo.
Tomatoes. And see that quick stir. This is going to smell lovely.
Okay.
And then I'm going to move on to my patatas and get those in as well.
All the way.
Let's see what you say about the potatoes. Okay. Askishan, that means peel. I've already peeled them. I'm one step ahead of you. So I'm interested to see how I'm going to cook these. Am I going to slice them? Am I going to chop them? I'm sure that you're going to show me. And that's the advantage of the app, that I can see everything. It's very visual. For somebody like me, I like to watch things. I like to see how you're doing something and copy from it. And of course, I can hear you speaking as well. So I'm learning the words at the same time.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm doing it right because I can watch you.
That's amazing, because if the language you're learning is so far from your own language, you can relate the word with the action easily if you see the action. So it's a good way to learn and to remember the word that you are learning, yeah?
Yeah, for those of us who are very visual learners, this is a really, really good method to use. So you're cutting the potatoes, but you seem to be kind of snapping them. Is this a typical Barcelona thing to do, to sort of snap the potatoes?
Okay. Exactly. But when you cook the potato, if you move the knife a little bit, they crack.
Yeah, I'm sort of wiggling it.
Exactly. And you
It's
put on the way, that's a stitch up.
right.
That's it. Exactly. This actually means escachar. And the slice is not perfect when you cook the potato like in a escachar way.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because on that that's the reason why then the potato will be
Threw that one away.
cooked smoother.
That's an interesting thing to be able to see you doing that, because that's a very particular thing to this recipe. And if I was just reading that, I might just slice them or chop them. So I've learned something, a particular technique there, which is really useful. So, okay. And then
escachar is a very Catalan, I don't know if I can say it's a very Catalan word because all the words are Catalan, of course. But we in Catalonia we have a special dish. It's called escachada. Escachada is like a kind of salad with special lettuce. It's called escarola, and also with this white. I don't remember the word. This white fish also is not used. It's bacalao. Do you remember bacalao?
it's salt cod, isn't it? Bacalao.
Exactly. It's a kind of salad, and it's called escachada because the way the bacalao is cooked is on that way, and then the bacalao is not in a perfect piece. It's like slices, and it's because it's called escachada, this dish.
And that's something that's a cultural aspect of this dish that I wouldn't have learned without actually seeing you doing that. So I've picked up something completely new there. That's really interesting. I'll see what I have to do with these potatoes. Las patatas, again, I cheated, I've already got them here. Las patatas, pop those into my paella with my silla and tomatoes.
Lovely.
So they're now all in there. Agua.
Una mica d'aigua, sì.
Un litro.
Un litro potser és bon, però en realitat, si no la patata no es cou.
Okay. So until the potatoes are pretty much covered. Yeah, I think that I've got about the right amount in there. Okay, so I'm using the image as well as the words, obviously the video as well as the language to help me out here and let me know that I'm doing the right thing. Okay, well I think I've got to a good point there. Everything's bubbling away. Do you want to try your Vietnamese egg coffee?
Okay, let's go. So I don't know if my speaker is. Let me check. The speaker is working. No, sorry. Always the same problem with this. Now. So now.
Đun nước cho sôi.
Can you hear too?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So I'm going to use my iPhone, well, my cellular to check the recipe and where I am. Okay, I'm here. So I don't know if you can see. No, you now. That's the Vietnamese recipe. I'm here, so I don't want to do that. Oh my God, here. Oh. Okay, and
Đun nước cho sôi.
now that's fine because on my phone I also can read the words that
Tran.
Tran is saying.
Đun nước cho sôi.
Đun nước cho sôi. I think it means that I have to boil water. So let's go.
Tran is here and she is judging you, so.
As I said, here in Spain we don't use kettle. Hi. So, okay, that's the first step. So let's go to the second one. And the second one is
Đổ 4 thìa cà phê sữa đặc.
đổ cà thìa cà phê sữa đặc.
4 thìa.
How?
4.
said 4.
4.
Pon.
4 is 4.
Pon.
Yeah.
Okay. Tia cafe. Tia cafe. Sudah. I think that's. Let me check again.
Yeah, you pick up the right thing.
I can see you on my phone. 4. I like a lot this kind of sword art. 1. Second one. This Vietnamese recipe is, I think, it's easier to prepare than the Catalan one because it's shorter. Although it's 13 steps, but I don't have to cook and boil any ingredient, so I only need boiled water for my coffee. That's good because I'm very sugar fan. I think I'm going to take a little bit more than 4. Tia cafe. Maybe 5. Sorry. Oh yeah. Sorry. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Bỏ phin cà phê lên ly.
Bỏ phin cafe, lên ly. Bỏ it has to be
It's mean
put.
good. Yeah.
Bỏ phin cafe, lên ly. Let's try again. Okay. Yes, stop. Let's go to the next one. Coffee. So, let me check. Let's try again.
Ba thìa cà phê vào phin.
So is like to put.
Yeah.
Sip cafe. Sorry, let me try again. Bao phin. Let's try again.
Cho ba
Cho phin. Are you saying
Cho 3 thìa cà phê vào phin.
bao phin?
Yeah.
Okay.
5 means 3. So 3 teaspoon, tablespoon.
One. Two. Okay. So, how is that to put
Cho.
Okay. Okay, let's go to the next one. I'm reading the text. Có một chút nước vào phin.
Cho
Is it
một
right?
chút nước vào phin.
Chút nước vào phin.
Mm.
The water now is boiling, so I have to wait for the water.
cho một ít nước vào phin.
Let me check again.
Cho một ít nước
Vào
vào
phin.
phin.
So, cho is like to pour.
Yeah. Good.
Pour water. Cho. Would it nước? No, water.
Mm-hmm.
Muffin.
Good job.
Okay. Good book. Think water swelling. Ready? Okay. And now, the next step is
Đặt gạt. Bỏ lên cà phê.
that gap, pollen cafe,
Yeah, that's
pollen.
right.
Đặt gạt.
That gap.
Bỏ lên cà phê.
Oi! I'm thinking I'm pressing the coffee too.
No, you just press it down, it's fine. Just press it down, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay, because now the water is falling. Okay, let's go to the next step. Đổ nước lên bát màu đen. I have to put more water in. Đổ nước lên bát màu đen.
Đổ nước lên vạch màu đen.
Okay.
Yeah, you're doing great.
I think I'm doing well. Đổ nước lên bát màu đen. Okay, I'm going to the end. Oh, yes. Lie. Now it's a difficult situation. Trứng gà.
Yeah.
Trứng egg. Trứng gà.
Yeah.
Chicken egg. And I remember. Soup. Long soup. Trứng gà. Right. So I have to separate two parts of the eggs. Okay, and Opa! I think that's the most difficult part of the recipe, to separate the two parts of the egg. Right? Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Then the next one. Here, as you can see, my iPad is here, and I could also use the iPad to see and to listen to Tom explaining my recipe. But now, today, I'm using my phone, but also I could use the iPad. Okay, so now next is
Có hai thìa cà phê mật ong.
cho, like to pour, cho,
Yeah.
like tia cafe, tia,
Hi.
cafe, mật ong.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
That's it, mật ong.
Yeah.
It's like with my nose, oh.
Yeah.
It's all with my nose. Okay. So, and so, my own. cafe, not only. Yeah. Okay. And then let's go to the next step. Oh, dann wann long door zum
Mong đồng đỏ tím trong
dann wann long door zum let's go. I have to mix the eggs. I'm going to do some noise. It's got 3 minutes. So, Alison,
Okay.
want to keep going with your recipe because I will be here 3 minutes with my.
Yeah, I better make my paste, haven't I? So everything's bubbling away very nicely.
Panela picada, posem el morter, amb les ametlles torrades, els julivets i un gra d'alls.
Okay, in my cocktail I've got
Ho
my
picarem tot,
julivette,
ben picat, ben picat.
my Venice Ferraris, which was my toasted almonds. I should use the cursor again, that's it. And I'll get my aye, which is my garlic. Stop. Go. I've got 2 cloves here, but it's quite small garlic, so we'll go with that. Skin off then. Aye, a bit more aye, and I have to grind these all up together, and that will make paste. While I'm doing that, let's see what I have to do next. So again, this side please. There we are. Smaller. And let's see our final step.
La picada està preparada. El sofregit amb les patates. Preparat. I ara, panela i gal.
So once I've made my mixture, my pica, German, pica. Is that the mixture? Can't hear me because it's whizzing up the mix. Now this is interesting because I would have just added all of these ingredients directly into the pan. So that's interesting that I have to grind them up first. Get all of those flavors. I'll put the back of the garlic. I think we're about there. Into the pan. You can see it is lovely mixed there. Amelius Ferraris, Juliet, and aye. Smells amazing. Mix that in. And then finally, my juice, which is cooked. I've made that quite small so that it cooks a little faster, given that we are pushed for time. If I was doing this at home, I might leave it in very large chunks, just like Jaume did. We'll just put that like that. It might not look quite as pretty because it's in tiny pieces, but I'm sure it's still going to taste amazing. Juice. And that juice is just going to cook for a bit. And then when I'm finished, Jaume, when this is cooked, I add my pizzol, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, and then it's ready. So I can just leave that like that for now. Let's turn this one off.
The cream with the zunga and the mouthful is ready also.
Wow.
Chunga with mouth full. Oh. What can I do? I don't know what I have to do now. Okay. Du chung lên cafe. I'm going to check if you can hear it. Yeah. Let's try again. Đổ chúng lên cà phê. Đổ chúng. Chung. Yes, chung. Egg. Chung.
Yeah, that's correct.
Then. Okay. Đổ chúng lên cà phê. Hey, đổ chúng lên cà phê. And now, back to, but before, I would like to show you what I did. I don't know if you can see this egg coffee.
Yeah, we can see.
Cafe.
Yeah, you did. Awesome.
3 colors. Okay. Whew. It's not easy quite then. Quite there. Maybe then another one. Quite there. Mix. Alessandro,
It looks amazing.
what do you think?
I'm really jealous. I wish I was in Barcelona and I could try it.
Yes, I think it will be kind of energy bomb or something like that because egg, coffee, milk, a lot of sugar, honey. Sorry, I need my method. I love it. Yes, because it's a lot. It's very, but I feel all the energy in this coffee. I don't know if in Vietnam people is taking this coffee every morning or not.
Not really though. They normally people from the north will drink this more, but now it's really popular also in the south. Like in my city, Ho Chi Minh City, it's now become very popular. So yeah, like it's very Instagrammable as well. People take a lot. Yeah, so it's very popular now. Yeah.
Well, and also, but people take it in the morning or after
Any time of the day.
or
Any time of the day, to be honest.
oh
Yeah, anytime.
no, because it's a kind of energetic drink that I think if you take it every morning, you will stop. And maybe you are well, ready to live in a, I don't know what to say, in a different way, because now I'm feeling the energy, I'm feeling the coffee. I don't know, because I finished my recipe, but wow.
I'm glad you like it.
I love it, yes, I love it.
I think it's perfect for tired students and tired university teachers. Gemma. Definitely good for energy, tired students and tired university teachers. So I think it'll be a popular one. Okay,
Let's switch back to the Catalan recipe now.
I think that we're ready. I'm going to add my peas, doing some on the floor. So I throw all my peas in. This looks amazing. I'm going to switch off the oven. Now my fish is in smaller pieces than yours. It doesn't look quite so pretty, but you can tell that it's all cooked. Use. And could I use this? Could I use any other fish? Do you think I could use cod or something like that? Haddock, maybe?
The problem of cod is that cod is salty,
Okay.
and then, well, you can use cod, of course, but the juice is a little bit sweety as a fish, and then the combination between the vegetables and the juice, I think is better than cod. But it has to be white,
So
white
probably,
fish, not
probably
blue fish.
haddock. I think haddock
I
would be
think
better
so.
if I was using it, an English fish, if I couldn't find pig. But I think that the use looks beautiful here. And the colours are fantastic. It just looks really healthy and really fresh. And I think it's the parsley and the garlic that really helps that. And that's interesting. Is that a typical thing to do? To mix up your parsley, your julivert, and your garlic and the toasted almonds to create that paste to add into your dish?
In Catalonia, we have a lot of different dishes with this kind of, we say picada because we smash these almonds or another kind of almond like Savallana that is smaller, and with the garlic and with the parsley, with the julivert and add. But it's very common with fish dishes.
Okay.
Yeah, because taste is like, well, garlic and parsley and julivert are very common ingredients for fish and for calamars, for, with tapas also, but it's very common with seafood and with fish, yes.
Yeah. Well, it smells amazing. So I don't know if you can see it. Does it look okay? I can't tilt it. I don't want to spill it.
Yeah.
Does it look okay?
It's more common to see the piece of fish a little bit bigger than yours.
Yeah.
But that's fine. That's fine too, yeah.
Exactly. It'll do. Excellent. Well, that was really good fun. So I'm going to go and eat this now. So I'll leave you to talk about the app, and I'm going to go and eat this.
Okay, so what we'll do now then is some evaluation, and the first thing we'll do, well, we'll let the food cool down a bit, and then when it's cooled down, then we'll evaluate it. But we'll see how many words everybody's learnt. So first of all, we'll check with you, Jaume, how many Vietnamese words you've learnt.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
The spoon.
The spoon is Kaila.
No.
Kaitia.
Yeah. That's good.
Kaitia.
Can you show me?
Yes. And also Kaitia because grass is Kaili.
Yeah, that's right.
We have Kaitia and Kaili.
Okay, good.
And Rasa, Kai coffee. Kai coffee?
No. You say cafe. Cafe.
Cafe?
Yeah, cafe.
But spoon, coffee spoon, is that same?
Thìa cafe.
Kaitia cafe?
Yeah. Normally we just say thìa cafe.
Okay, cafe. And Chang?
Yeah.
Chang is egg. And Changa, I remember also Changa, tongue. How is it pronounced?
Trứng.
Tung. Tung.
Yeah, pretty
Trứng.
tricky.
Tunga is egg coffee.
Yeah. No. Just egg. Chicken
I
egg.
just egg.
Yeah.
Tung.
Trứng is egg. Gà means chicken. So trứng gà means chicken egg.
Jingle.
Yeah.
Okay. Jingle. And also nok. Nok. Water. Nok.
Yeah. Water.
Nok. And also I remember cho is to pour. Cho.
Yeah. Put or pour.
Cho. and also I remember do. Do.
Do mean pour.
Yes, it's more or less the same.
Yeah, they are kind of the same. So we
But
use,
what's the difference between to and do?
normally there's like if you use the word do, it means for liquid.
Aha.
Yeah,
So water is do,
yeah,
and coffee is to.
yeah.
That's fine. Yeah. That's amazing. Okay, and
Honey, how about honey?
what is mak on?
Oh, excellent. Yeah,
Mak on. That's amazing because it's on, O-N-G.
yeah.
I think it's a very common word in Vietnamese.
Ong is mean bee.
B. Oh, that's not common then. Oh. Oh. And I think I don't remember. No.
Condensed milk. How about condensed milk?
Oh, I have to check. Sorry. Soup dog.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, sữa đặc.
Soup dog. Soup dog. It's very difficult to pronounce the tones of the Vietnamese words. Soup dog.
Yeah. Sữa
Because
đặc.
dog, huh?
Sữa đặc.
So dog.
Yeah.
So dog. So dog. These tones, if I'm focused on saying the tone, so dog,
Yeah.
I can say the word more or less in a proper way.
Yeah.
But if I'm speaking soda,
Yeah.
my Catalan pronunciation is going up, you know, and I have to be very focused on soda. And I think to work with words like this is a very good way to practice the pronunciation of the tones, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also another word, cafe.
Yeah, true. Coffee. Easy.
Cafe.
Yeah.
But cafe, I'm not concerned, but it's interesting to me because cafe is one thing,
Yeah.
but it's two words. How can it be?
What?
Because cafe, here in my recipe,
Yeah.
is really like two syllables. But this one, because in Vietnamese, all the words are one syllable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's only one syllable, but it's the combination of many single words together. So it becomes like a word, like a compound noun.
Mm-hmm. But cafe are two syllables.
Yeah, two syllable.
So
It combined with two different words, ca and fe, and then you say cafe. But if you separate it, one word has meaning, one word has no meaning. So
exactly. But I think that's a kind of way to use the foreign words in Vietnamese, maybe because we have a lot of internet.
yeah,
Internet, three syllables.
Mm.
Oh, and you have to adapt this combination of syllables that it's to your construction of language.
I mean, there is a specific way to translate it into Vietnamese. So it's pronounced exactly the same, like internet. Then Vietnamese people also say internet, but it just the pronunciation is a bit different, like the accent. I mean,
Sorry, I have another question because I felt that there are a lot of different ways to write letters, to write the sounds in Vietnamese, because a is a and also is a with an accent, and ngoc is not a u, and an o. Ngoc is a u with something strange.
yeah, it's like a
What?
mark. No, I don't know why. It's just because it's the way it is.
Or for example, so dog is
Yeah.
kind of milk.
Yeah.
The egg is a name with something up and a kind of point, kind of dot.
Yeah, it was a mark on it.
Oh. That's interesting for me as a linguist.
Do they
Yeah.
mark the tones?
Yeah, we do mark the tone as well.
It's marking the tones, maybe.
Yes. Well, that's, I think, that the things I learned
You did a pretty good job.
about the Vietnamese today. Because I think it's a lot of things. I think it's a lot of things.
Yeah.
I learned a lot of things, and also my experience cooking this recipe is also very interesting to be closer to the Vietnamese culture, because now if I go to a Vietnamese shop to buy something, or if I go to a Vietnamese restaurant, I think I will be more, how to say, more interested in what is written there in Vietnamese, because I practice this recipe. So Alison, let's
Yes.
go with you.
Okay. So what did I use? I used the motel, easy one to
Okay.
start with.
I'm sorry, how do you say?
Motel.
Murte.
Yeah.
Murte. That's a Catalan specific thing. Sometimes when the written O is not a strong syllable, we say you, mu.
Ah, it's called the motel.
Murte. Yes,
Well,
exactly.
that's interesting. Okay, because it's spelt with an O. I wouldn't have known
Yeah.
that. I think because I'm influenced by the English there, because it's a mortar. It's a pestle and mortar. So I'm influenced obviously by my own language there. But motel, right? Okay, that's a good one to know. Okay, then we had ganivet.
Ganivet, molt bé.
Ganivet. And fusta.
Fusta.
Now, I'm assuming that fusta has something to do with wood, really, because this is a cullera de fusta.
Exacta. Fusta is wood.
Right,
Wood
fusta is wood.
wood.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the chopping board, you just call it wood because you would
Yes,
expect it to
because
be
commonly
wood.
it's a wood. It's not in plastic, a plastic thing. You know, some commonly it's a wood thing to chop
Okay.
the ingredients.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have one. No, it's not from. No.
I don't think we have a wooden one, but that makes sense because this is
Yeah.
cullera de fusta, so this is my wooden spoon. So,
For example, aquesta fusta,
there you go. A
is
tiny
made from
fusta.
wood.
Right, okay, so fusta is wood, and you don't say chopping board, you just say wood. That's very interesting. We then had, what else did I use? I had these are hot olla and my paella, and you've got that double L sound, which I have to say I struggle with. I think that's a really hard sound. Paella
Paella.
is like at the sides of my mouth, isn't it? Paella.
You have to press this part of the mouth with your tongue.
I think
It's
that's
like you are very angry.
the trickiest sound, definitely, I think, for an English person to make. But I had two, olla and paella. Paella.
Yes.
And again, most of us will think of the dish, paella, the food, paella, which in fact it's the frying pan, isn't it, that you cook it in?
But do you know why paella, the recipe, the dish, is called paella? Because it's cooked with a paella.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And paella is a pan. In fact, in Catalan, paella means pan. But if you cook the rice with a pan and in a specific way, like in the Valencian way, it's a paella.
But that's the same in many languages. Look at a casserole in French.
Exactly.
It's the name of the pan, it's not the name of the dish. So that would be interesting actually to look at as a whole language thing, but that's a good one. We had sal and pepper negra. I did
Okay.
add black pepper.
And what does it mean, negra?
Negra obviously means black. So would it be pepper blanco for white pepper?
Blanca. But
Blanca.
because pepper is feminine.
Okay, feminine. Pepper blanca for white pepper. Okay, so I've learned something else there, haven't I? Oli.
Oli.
Okay. Then we also had aigua.
Agua, you know a lot of Catalan words.
Aigua. We had patates.
Patatas.
that I didn't use.
You know, patatas is plural. So one patata, dos patatas.
Okay. Un patata. Oh, una patata. Una patata.
Una patata, sí señora.
Una patata. Dos patates. See, that's also feminine. We've used lots of feminine things here, haven't we?
Yeah.
Julivert is an interesting one. Julivert. That obviously it's got there in like French for green. So I'm assuming it's something to do with the green, but I might be just reading something into that.
I don't know why it's called Julivert. I don't know the etymology of this word, Julivert, because maybe it's related with Julius Caesar or something like that. Because Julius, Julie, or July, Julius has to be July or Julius Caesar or something like that, yes. I don't know. I need to check it, yes.
Very different to parsley in English. So yeah, and then finally, of course, we had tomatoes, which are all in my pan, and use.
Use again this sound. Use.
Yes, it's that use
Yes.
at the sides of my mouth. I find that really difficult. And pesos, of course. Pesos are very important. That's the finished dish, aren't they? So souquette means a casserole, a stew.
Souk is juice.
Oh,
Juice,
okay.
for example, soup of tronja. Soup de tronja, perdona. The orange juice. Souk is like something like water, but it's not water.
Yeah.
It's soup.
Yeah.
In soup de limona is like lemon juice.
Mhm.
And souquette means that because you pour water to boil the potato, and then you have a lot, not a lot, but a little bit of soup. And souquette is a little soup.
It is. It's like
Exactly.
it's a thin,
Exactly.
watery sauce, isn't it? Yes, I understand now. So a souquette de país is a fish.
Yeah.
We would call it a fish stew because the fish has been cooked in the water with the vegetables and so on.
Yeah.
And then pesos, must mean with.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so I've worked that one out as well. So I think, yes, I've kind of understood quite a lot. And I've linked it with the little bit of Spanish I know and with the French that I know as well. So.
And maybe also with Italian, you know something from some words from Italian also, because negro, negro. You know?
Yeah.
Latin languages are
We've got all Latin
more or less,
languages.
they
Yeah.
have a lot of similar words, of course.
Yes.
Carrata is one of them.
But it's an easy recipe to cook, but actually it's a very impressive recipe to cook, and it's culturally, it's obviously a very typical Barcelona recipe to cook.
It's
So I
very
think
typical.
in terms of being able to follow a recipe like this,
Mm.
I feel like I've learned the language, but actually I've produced something that's very impressive as well. So
You know, I'm sure that my university colleagues will say, okay, it's very common, but it's not common to find in a common restaurant now, for example, in Barcelona, because maybe unfortunately, I don't know, but you know, the most typical dishes in Barcelona nowadays are tapas, and that's not a tapa. And tapas are not specifically common from Catalonia. Tapas are from Andalusia and from another part of Spain. And here, the dishes are, you know, are a little bit like with soup, with fish. It's not it's not easy like the tapas that is okay, a small dish, and it's very, very, very fast to prepare.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Can I ask you both some questions now, Jama?
Okay.
So first of all, of course, you can cook the recipe yourself just using the app, but we've been doing it as virtual exchange. We've had this idea of information gap, information transfer. So do you think the virtual exchange has added anything to the experience of cooking, which of course you can just do on your own? Has it helped in any way?
Definitely.
Yeah. For my Vietnamese experience, I think to be with Tan here, I can remember her name. I think it's very, very useful because the Vietnamese pronunciation is very different than my Catalan or Spanish or English pronunciation. And then, although I can hear her here in my phone, I can also see how she's cooking and how she's preparing the recipe. To learn languages in Vietnamese is very important for us to pronounce well the word, because Tan, Trung is very different. And then with my Vietnamese teacher here, my way to learn the pronunciation was better because she could monitor me in how I'm pronouncing the words, and I think I improved for that. Yeah.
Great. Now, how about you, Alison? Did that add in anything to the experience?
Definitely, because even though I know a little Spanish and I know French and I know Italian, so as a linguist, you'd think it'd be quite easy to pick up a new language. And it was easy enough for me to listen to the words and to pick it up. But I think the cultural side of things is very interesting. I think, like you say, Gemma, a lot of us, when we think of Spanish food, we think of tapas, don't we? We think of the paella. There are some really stereotypical foods that we think of, and we don't quite think about why foods are cooked and eaten in those areas. And this, you know, to know a little bit about the fact that it's the juice, it's the water, the typical fish of the region, I think it gives a whole extra, you know, a whole extra layer to the experience. You're not just creating the dish, you're actually learning something about the cultural experience as well, and that is really useful to have somebody who's right there. The fact that I've just made something that's a Barcelona, you know, typical dish for somebody who's currently in Barcelona and I'm talking to you, that's the power of the virtual exchange, isn't it? The fact that we can connect even though we're in completely different places. So it definitely adds a whole different layer to it.
Yeah, but also I think that maybe because we are teachers and we are linguists also, and we are not cooks, but I didn't say anything about your way to cook exactly. Okay, I'm there in a video, but for example, it's a very little thing to scale potatoes. Yeah, okay, we are cooking and we don't have too much time to say, hey, stop. Okay, let's do it on that way. But I think, well, it's a good way also to check and to monitor the way to cook. For example, you said me that I should have not pressed these filters in as I was doing, and also this online how to say online collection was helpful also for our recipe, you know.
Yeah, I think as a language teacher, as a former language teacher, if I'd had somebody in my classroom on a screen being able to demonstrate and connect with my students the way that we've just done there, I just think that that's such an inspiration, isn't it? It's such a good way to show it's really authentic and really brings the real world and the real cooking experience and the real culture into the classroom. I think it could be a very, very powerful teaching tool.
Yeah. Just another couple of questions. It's how did you discover the meanings of the new words that you learned? Of course, because there are lots of ways in which you can learn the words. So, can you say something about that, John?
Well, for me, the best way to learn the Vietnamese words was to compare what I was seeing, what I was checking on the screen, how my Vietnamese teacher was cooking, check the word with that. I mean, if I listen or if I hear the word in Vietnamese without the recipe here on my phone, it's impossible to know what does it mean. But if I'm saying that she's using milk, and also I'm reading. Sorry. I read the word here on my phone screen. I can relate the product that I'm saying with the word, and that's a good way to know words from a very different language that as Vietnamese is to me.
Great, yeah. Great, thanks. And how about you, Alison, for learning?
Yeah, I think when we've had the school groups in here, especially the young ones, we've seen how easily they've picked up the words because they can hear it. They can hear it as many times as they want because they can keep replaying it. They can see it on screen, and also they've got that visual, the picture, the actual, you know, the visual description of what somebody's doing. And the fact that you've got all three together there, that just cements that word so much better in their head than if they just read it or just heard it. And I think we see even the smallest, the youngest children can pick up so much vocabulary in a very, very short time because they've got this kind of trilogy of ways to learn it. So.
Yes, and also it's very, let's say, it's very helpful to listen to the words as many times as you need, because the app, it's difficult word to acquire. And the recipe and the app, the Lingua Cuisine app, are to listen to the word as many times as you need. Knock. No, on that way, okay, it's easier to acquire the way to pronounce the words. That's in Vietnamese is very important.
Okay, and what about in terms of cultural learning? Have you noticed similarities and differences between Vietnamese culture and your own culture? So I remember some time ago you said that your grandmother in Barcelona used to have some kind of coffee with egg in it. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting because when I was young, I'm not young now. So when I was young, I was very impressed by the coffee egg that my grandmother took every morning without anything on her stomach also. And it was coffee, common coffee, black coffee, with this yellow part of the egg. I don't know exactly how to say it in this yema. Yolk. With the yolk, but the yolk was rough. And for me, it was very, very disgusting without sugar, without anything. Coffee, hot coffee with the yolk mixed, and like she took this brunch, this drink, like a shot, a little bit. Okay, it was very energetic, but for me it was very disgusting. But now with milk, honey, and with this condensed milk is better. With sugar, everything is better in life. Yeah, but it's interesting because in the other part of the world, some culture is taking more or less the same drink that my grandmother took.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's something like a fish stew is a very common dish across a lot of countries, and I think it's quite an easy dish to make. But it's all of those little things that make it different, isn't it? It's picado? Picado. Yeah. With the parsley and the garlic and the toasted almonds. And I think that toasted almonds was an interesting one that I wouldn't have thought of having myself if I'd been making this. The particular fish is, particular to your region. So I think culturally, a fish stew is a fish stew. But once you start looking at all of those little ingredients and all of those little tweaks that you make in different regions and in different countries, suddenly it becomes kind of something very special, doesn't it? So.
We live very close to the Mediterranean Sea. We live in the sea, and then for us, fish is one of the most important products in our cuisine. Yes, and well, that's a good way to be closer to our culture to cook something like this with a fish. And also for this coffee, for me, it was very interesting to know how the Vietnamese took this or take this drink, because as Chan said to me, people in Vietnam is taking this drink, this coffee, not only in the morning like my grandmother. For me, it was a little bit surprised. I was surprised because it's a very energetic drink. So if you take it, I don't know, in the afternoon, maybe you can't sleep. Maybe I don't know. It's interesting also to know how people is taking these recipes also in their countries. Yes.
Yeah. Great. Thanks very much to Jalma and Alison. So now we've got a little bit of time for questions. So if you've got a question, you could send a text, or we could also, if if you want to take your microphone off, you can ask a question as well. I don't think we've got any texts yet, have we? No. So you can just raise your hand if you want to ask a question, and we can unmute you. Any questions? Anybody there? Any questions? No. Great, well, thanks very much, everybody. So we're now going to enjoy the suquet de peixe and pesos, and Jaume's going to drink his Vietnamese egg coffee, café brung, and so we hope that you'll be able to follow some of the recipes, and also, why not upload your own recipe in your own language to add to the collection that we've got there. So great, thanks everybody, and have a good day. Bye.
Bye.